I never thought I'd like anything about Vic Fangio.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought, like, because Vance Joseph gave us we're back. And so when it's cold, it's tough. And he's a good little player. And also so many great drops. And then Vic Fangio never gave us anything until your sunrise, Bloom.
Yeah.
It was your suggestion of the sun.
It works,
it's
right?
like there, right? It's like sun worship, right? It's every day.
Every day. That's right. The sun doesn't go down. It's just the world turning round.
That's right. And the world turning round with Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Blue. All right, let's do this thing. And here we go in 3, 2, 1. The fantasy playoffs are almost here, so you got to make it or you got to play spoiler. Either way, you're here for the Week 12 Waiver Wire show. It's the Audible Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, Dr. Jene Bramel, and we start with Dr. Jene talking about the injured quarterbacks you need to know here in Week 12.
Everybody, not as much going on at the quarterback position this week, thankfully, but there are some Thursday players that we're going to have to be mindful of. Justin Fields and Jared Goff. Fields has essentially already been ruled out with a rib injury. Thankfully, it doesn't look like he had a spleen issue as was evaluated after the game. But Ian Rappaport already saying that Andy Dalton is going to get the start for the Bears this week. Jared Goff, dealing with an oblique strain, was able to get back to a little bit of practice on Monday. Does have a chance to play on Thursday against the Bears, but we'll have to see how he progresses and whether or not he can rotate around his body to be able to throw the ball. Aaron Rodgers dealing with a toe sprain that isn't likely to keep him out. He's going to find a way to limp until the bye week that the Packers have coming up. So expect him to play. Could be a limit around the pocket a little bit. I think Lamar Jackson is probable to come back from the illness that he was dealing with last week. Had some issues with hydration. Traveled with the team. Was ultimately unable to go. It's not clear exactly what Jackson is dealing with. There's been a lot of speculation about whether or not this is a chronic illness, whether or not be related to the COVID infections that he's had in the past. I don't know that there's worth too much speculation on that. Hopefully we'll see Jackson return to practice and be able to recover in time for this week. Kyler Murray, we'll expect to see coming out of the bye week for a Week 13 return out in Arizona. Again, pretty close over the last couple of weeks, but the Cardinals have decided that they want to make sure that he can fully protect himself in the pocket and be as much of a weapon outside the pocket as he is inside the pocket, which will mean that his high ankle sprain needs to fully recover. So bye week this week for Murray, but we should see him back in Week 13. Zach Wilson still working to recover from a knee sprain as well. The Jets look like they've kind of moved on a little bit from Mike White already, starting Joe Flacco. Wilson should be a little bit closer to return, but we'll watch his practice participation.
We will watch his practice participation. We will watch Sigmund's list, upgrades, downgrades, waiver wire report, available at footballguys.com. And up at the top, if he's there, Bloom, and he's still there in some leagues, but it's Cam Newton.
Yeah. And again, wide netting it because we never know. And the guideline I try to use is like 75% rostered in Yahoo. Cam Newton looked good, Cease. You see him on that 24-yard touchdown run. He looks good on the hoof. His throws were accurate. So maybe it really was with New England, some coof issues, some learning the offense issues, and we have to assume he's going to get better. He absolutely. And see, another thing that we haven't talked about very much is there really hasn't been an excellent fantasy quarterback this year outside of maybe Josh Allen, who gives us an occasional landmine game. So Cam Newton absolutely can slot in as a quarterback one from here on out. And I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of start-sit questions where people are saying, am I really starting Cam Newton in an important fantasy playoff game? Yeah, you're going to be.
Yeah, you're going to be, and you're going to be winning that sucker. So you'd rather start Cam Newton or Taylor Heineke, Tua Tagovailoa, Tyrod Taylor,
Patrick Mahomes.
Part of the description that I wrote here, Bloom, is like, do you trust Tyrod Taylor? Tyrod, 10 to 20%. Yeah. Let's throw in
sure.
Taysom Hill there, recipient of a new deal. What did Joe say on was the email or on Twitter when Joe was like, I don't know, whoever his agent is, yeah. I want to follow that guy's advice.
Right? Sean Payton's like, you remind me of the son I never had or something. I don't know. So Taylor Heineke played the best game of his career. I think it was the best game of his career, Cease. He was
that Tampa wild card one, though.
It was good. It was good. And the game he played against Tampa the week before was good. Oh, my God. He's building momentum. Maybe he's going to be the starter next year for Washington. Something to think about in dynasty leagues, especially your super flex 2 quarterback leagues. But he looks good, and he's playing Seattle this week, which is a team that is, well, they're lower on the pecking order than Washington right now. Tua Tagovailoa continues to put up solid numbers, benefiting from good matchups. Is Carolina a good matchup? That's the team that Taylor Heineke just did so well against. I'm not sure, but certainly there are some spots we might choose to play Tua Tagovailoa. He would be good as a committee approach from here on out. Tyrod Taylor, and I struggled with this one, Cease, because he ran 2 touchdowns in. That's money for fantasy football, but otherwise the offense was terrible. And they were both set up by turnovers. So is that really a reason to go out and get Tyrod Taylor? I don't know, but he gets the Jets this week. So he can build some momentum there. A bit of a puzzler, but anytime we have a running quarterback, then we're interested. And then we get to Taysom Hill, another puzzler, because he only practiced, I think, limited on Friday, and then he was on the bench the whole game. They didn't use him in any of those Swiss Army knife ways. He was the backup quarterback, which I guess is kind of good for his fantasy value because they're thinking of him exclusively as a quarterback. But have we seen enough from Trevor Siemian? Speaking of hits from the old Broncos days, have we seen enough? Because I think we've seen enough, and yet we haven't seen Taysom Hill start. Now, he was limited. I mean, he was listed as a full participant in a simulated practice yesterday for Thanksgiving. Could he start on Thanksgiving? I doubt it, but maybe. Could he start in week 13? Absolutely. I think that's where we're looking at. And the contract is important here, Cease, because what's the range? 40 million to 90 million or something like that, which implies that in this contract, they're contemplating, hey, you might be the starting quarterback for this team, and we want to make sure that if you are the starting quarterback and you play up to that you get compensated fairly. So if they're thinking about it, we should be thinking about it. And just like Cam Newton, if Taysom Hill is a starting quarterback, he is a fantasy quarterback 1.
Yes, and you ask me, have we seen enough of Trevor Siemian? Well, yeah. Come on now. Yeah. Let's get to the rest of the list, which includes guys, maybe. Again, wide net.
Sure.
Jimmy Garoppolo, Big Ben, Andy Dalton is 1%er with the news that you woke me up with, Bloom.
Yeah.
I needed to wake up. But Joe Flacco, and then Tim Boyle, not Jack Doyle, but Tim Boyle. And 1% very deep QB super flex. But Garoppolo, Ben, Andy, Joe, Tim, all the rest.
Garoppolo, highly efficient, limited opportunities. Could be a shootout with Minnesota this week, though. Roethlisberger, not the reason the Steelers lost. Hey, that's why he's an upgrade, right?
We'll take it.
And making some things happen. If he just had a little more oomph on that downfield ball, maybe Chase Claypool could have had a long touchdown in that game. Cincinnati this week, he was miserable against Cincinnati the first time around, but there's potentially some usefulness there. Andy Dalton, a wing and a prayer, almost winning. Justin Fields could even be back for Thanksgiving. I don't know. There's potentially something there against Detroit in 2 quarterback superflex leagues. Similarly, if Joe Flacco remains the starter, maybe there's something there for the Jets this week against Houston, and then Tim Boyle. We could see Jared Goff. We definitely cannot rule him out at this point, but in your 2 quarterback superflex leagues, every starting quarterback has value.
Every starting quarterback has value, and Dr. Jene Bramel is the most valuable of all of us, and he's got a report on the injured RBs here in Week 12. Dr. Jene, take it away.
The primary news this week is going to revolve around a number of running backs that we're going to watch carefully through practice participation. We've got 2 high-profile backs that are dealing with MCL sprains in the knee, Aaron Jones in Green Bay, Alvin Kamara out in New Orleans. Kamara has a couple of weeks of recovery already behind him. The Saints were not practicing on Monday. It was just an estimated injury report, and Kamara was called a DNP. He's going to have to recover in time to play on Thursday night. That's not a foregone conclusion. We said multiple times that this short-term injured reserve this year makes it look like players that don't go on injured reserve are likely to come back before 3 weeks pass, but that shouldn't be assumed. Kamara's still dealing with the MCL sprain. If he's not back to practice on Tuesday, it's going to be a pretty tough turnaround for him to prove that he's ready for Thursday night. If he does practice on Tuesday, we need to see him do something on Wednesday as well, just to make sure that he's ready to go. Aaron Jones dealing with anything from a 1 to 3 week injury is what we were originally expecting. The Packers have a bye in week 13. I think Jones is going to have to be pretty healthy in order to be cleared to play this week. With A.J. Dillon playing well, Jones needs to be pretty much full strength in order to be cleared to go. So I still think he's doubtful for this week. We're probably going to see the Packers, conservative as they usually are, rest him through the bye week before clearing him to return, and then we'll see what happens after that. Cordell Patterson with the Falcons dealing with a high ankle sprain was able to get through a full week of limited practices leading into the Thursday game last week. Didn't really have much chance to play, but those limited practices suggest that it was a little bit of a lower grade high ankle sprain. Doesn't mean he's going to be able to return this week, but expect him to be able to practice and at least test it out. Going to see what San Francisco wants to do with Elijah Mitchell, who, dealing with a finger injury, had a surgical procedure to fixate the bone in that finger last week. The Niners continue to say that he's got a chance to play, but Mitchell is going to have to prove that he can carry the ball with good ball security, catch the ball out of the backfield when asked, and pass protect when asked. That's a tough ask, especially because we're not exactly sure how extensive the surgical procedure needed to be. So on Monday, Kyle Shanahan seemed to be optimistic again, but we saw how that went last week. See how things go there. JaMycal Hasty still dealing with an ankle injury. Second one of the year that he suffered back in Week 9 is yet to return to practice. It's not clear whether or not he's going to be ready to go. Michael Carter suffered a high ankle sprain on Sunday. It's being called a 2 to 3 week situation. He's not likely to return until Week 13 at the earliest. We're also going to be watching Rashad Penny, who's dealing with a hamstring strain. Jordan Howard dealing with a knee injury that's likely to keep him out this week. Jeremy McNichols still in the concussion protocol in Tennessee. Damian Williams with a calf injury, probably going to miss some time. And Jamar Jefferson in Detroit dealing with a high ankle sprain that's likely to keep him out for this Thursday's game as well. Also among the running backs, Kareem Hunt and his calf strain. Kevin Stefanski was a little bit more reassuring than expected. It was kind of suspected that Hunt may not be able to return until after Cleveland's Week 13 bye, but he looks like he's going to be able to return to practice this week. I don't anticipate him seeing a significant amount of snaps, but if all goes well in practice, he could be cleared for a rotational role this week, but still, it's possible we won't see him until Week 14.
The Audible continues with upgrades, downgrades, and waiver wire report available at footballguys.com. And Rhamondre Stevenson, 50+% if he's there. And Bloom, the story of Stevenson is he was there, then he wasn't there, and then he probably got dumped, and he might be back out there. And it's always good to check. Just double check.
Right. We got two players, Cease, the finalists for the Waiver Wire Hokey Pokey Award, Rhamondre Stevenson and Tyler Boyd, who also makes the report this week. And again, wide netting it. Even in a committee, Rhamondre Stevenson is worth a flex play. If Damian Harris gets dinged, we know Stevenson can be a running back one. Bill Belichick giving him the kind of workload we rarely see Patriots running backs get. And maybe even just by merit, because he can do more in the passing game, because he has more natural power. Matt Walden brought this up on the Thursday night show, Cease, during that New England-Atlanta game, that maybe Harris is a better runner in terms of vision and setting up the runs, but Stevenson just adds more value to his runs. I mean, that's my take. So yeah, Stevenson still has a chance to be a league winner for us because the hottest team in the league right now is the New England Patriots. Here's how you know how crazy the season is, Cease. We're staring down the barrel of the Patriots being the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Mm-hmm. Coach of the year, Bill Belichick. But as we know with this crazy season,
right?
Vegas, as soon as something happens, hey, we're the best. Like, oh my God, and then things might fall apart. We'll see. We'll see if New England can stop that. It'll be fun to watch. Now, a cluster of running backs, Bloom. So forgive me as I get out the way. But Devontae Freeman, Ty Johnson, Jeff Wilson, and Alexander Madison. That's kind of the next cluster, ranging from 25 to 50% to 15 to 30%.
Right, Cease. And now that we're here, bye weeks aren't over. Bye weeks go until week 14.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. In the high-stakes contest, some people weren't taking Jonathan Taylor because his bye week was week 14, which falls during the playoffs. Anyway, adding complications. So we're going to talk about backup running backs and making your job a little bit harder, Cecil, a little bit longer, but we're going to get to this, right? First, Devontae Freeman is the more valuable running back in Baltimore right now. He's doing more in the passing game. He just looks better than Latavius Murray, who's been used in a more vanilla way, at least in his first game back. Ty Johnson, Michael Carter has a high ankle sprain. out 2 or 3 weeks, maybe more. Ty Johnson, now I know it's Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman, and we'll address Tevin Coleman at the end, but this is like Rashad Penny. Come on. Is Tevin Coleman really going to stay healthy? Is he going to be effective? So I'm factoring in here the idea that Ty Johnson is the one running back. Maybe LaMichael Perine will make the waiver wire list soon. I don't know, but I know that I'd rather have Ty Johnson than Tevin Coleman. Jeff Wilson, and this is one where, Wilson's got an ample opportunity, not exactly impressive. As I pointed out on the recap show, he was wide open for a touchdown. If Jimmy Garoppolo had just made like a 10-yard pass as far as in the air, like 10 yards, not a very difficult pass, Wilson would have had a touchdown. We would have said he was a success, even though he ran for like 2.5 yards a carry. San Francisco is going to keep feeding him, I think. So that's why he's still somebody that you want to have on your roster and maybe in your lineup here this week against Minnesota. We'll see about Elijah Mitchell. That's the variable there. And then Alexander Mattison. He leads the parade of backup running backs, assuming Tony Pollard, A.J. Dillon. I know Dillon's not out there. I don't think Tony Pollard's out there either. So Mattison is your potential league winner. If Dalvin Cook goes down, we already saw it earlier this year. If Cook goes down, Madison's your potential league winner. So even in short bench leagues, I would probably go without depth. I'd be willing to carry just one backup wide receiver or no backup quarterback to make sure I have Alexander Mattison for the stretch run.
Yeah, once you're through your bye week, if you are, then go for it and collect guys like Samaje Perine. Now collect them all.
Yeah.
12 to 25%. Matt Breida still involved. 10 to 20%. DJ Dallas. 10 to 20%. Dontrell Hilliard. Chuba Hubbard. Sony Michel. Khalil Herbert. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Jordan Howard a little bit banged up, Bloom.
Right.
We'll talk about that as well. But let's get through this next cluster of backs.
And this is important, folks. We go over this. Longtime listeners to the show are used to this ritual, but around this time of year, around Thanksgiving, you want your bench to be stocked with backup running backs, even if you're 4 deep at running back. See, how many times are you 4 deep at running back, and the next week you're 1 deep? I mean, that's just how it goes. How many running backs have avoided the shrapnel this year? The list is very short. Samaje Perine, we know Joe Mixon is balling out right now. Perine's one of the few guys who could be a true 3-down back if the starter ahead of him goes down. That's why he's next.
And think of the starter ahead of him and how glass-like he has been in the past. So Samaje Perine, you might even bump a little bit more.
Sure. Well, Madison, I think, is a better player than Perine. Yes, both of them would be every down backs, but Perine may have a better chance of getting on the field because we don't think of Dalvin Cook as injury prone anymore. So your mileage may vary. 10 to 20%, we have a potpourri here of different flavors. Matt Breida isn't a 3-headed monster, but he's the best running back right now. And these things change quickly. Now, the Bills aren't going to turn him into a 20-carry back. That's just not what Matt Breida does, but he could continue to be sprinkled in this way where he has been efficient and he's fresh when defenses are not. DJ Dallas looked like he was playing like he should be for his career, right? He finally got on the field last week. He had 1 drive, scored a touchdown. He was one of the only good things about the Seattle Seahawks offense. We know Chris Carson's on IR. Rashad Penny is a non-factor. Yes, there's still Alex Collins, but it's not that difficult, Cease, to make a scenario in your head where DJ Dallas is the most valuable fantasy running back and maybe even fantasy relevant in this miserable Seattle offense, which is back to where we always end up. Russell Wilson airing his grievances in the media and Pete Carroll probably meddling a little bit too much. Dontrell Hilliard, I really struggled with this one, Cease, because he got 60+% of the snaps last week. Now, the Titans trailed for most of the game to the Texans. Maybe the Titans will continue to trail for most of the game to the Texans. He got, 8 receptions or something like that because there's nobody in the passing game that Ryan Tannehill can count on. But is there going to be anybody in the passing game? Jeremy McNichols missed last week with a concussion. If McNichols comes back, is Hilliard just back to the waiver wire? I mean, he was a street free agent, right? But they said he earned more opportunities, and he looked good. I don't know. But would it surprise me to see him continue to put up 12 to 15 PPR points? And he also had goal line touches. He had the one that he fumbled into the end zone. I think Ferkser recovered it. So it's there. I can easily see a place where Dontrell Hilliard is an every week fantasy starter going forward. And I can see a scenario where we drop him next week because he's dropped by the Titans. So do with that what you will. Chuba Hubbard, another backup who's an every down back. Christian McCaffrey, we don't want to see Christian McCaffrey get hurt. Sony Michel, same thing. Khalil Herbert, now with Damian Williams banged up, same thing. So, as always, and again, Cecil, I think you highlighted this well. Your order might be different than my order, but you want to be picking up backup running backs, and always what you're looking at is the quality of the player, the quality of the situation, the likelihood that they could become the starter. So, is the injury-prone player in front of them, and you may sort that out as you may, but there's some players that have shown, like Khalil Herbert, like Chuba Hubbard, that they can get it done in fantasy when they get the chance.
Yeah, they can get it done. And Bloom, I think this is a conversation that needs to be said because you're highlighting it well. And just to reemphasize, like this time of year, you've played roulette with me. We've had lots of fun.
Always the black, never the red.
Exactly. I was just going to ask you what I always say. I get it from Mo Money. Although I think they said the opposite. But anyway, always the black, never the red. I'm going to bet on black, right? Always the black, never the red. And what you're doing is you're betting on trends, right? You're looking up at the board. You're like, oh, man, it hasn't been black in a while. I'm going to bet on black, right? So with running backs at this time of year, that's why the Samaje Perine thing springs to mind because you're betting on trends. With the Hilliard thing, you're betting on the trend that the Titans will continue to be behind. So how do you feel about these trends? I think that can kind of help you order these running backs.
And let me say this too. See, this is just a general fantasy discussion, but in general, we should bet on trends to continue. Or in the Dontrell Hilliard example, he got an opportunity, he played well, they seemed pleased with him, they said he's going to get more opportunities. So just don't expect anything to change there. I forgot Jordan Howard, another puzzle, right?
And now banged up.
But Miles Sanders fumbles, Jordan Howard comes in, sees he was in for 13 snaps, he carried the ball on 10 of them. And he had 60 yards.
Yeah. It's Jordan Howard from the Bears.
Right. And it's working, it's clicking. So I don't know if Jordan Howard stays in this game, doesn't hurt his knee. Does he finish out the game as the starter and enter next week against the Giants as the starter? Or as soon as his knee is well, is he the starter? I don't know. So it's tough because on one hand, I'm loath. Here's who's not listed this week. Benjamin. Because I'm loath to carry a player who can't gain value because they're on bye. Or I'm loath to carry a player this late in the season who can't gain value because they're hurt. Jordan Howard may be a special case because he aligns so well with what the Eagles are doing. Will it just be a 1 week injury? I don't know. I don't think he's going to play this week. So Howard, kind of like the backup running backs, you're stashing him, hoping that there'll be some value 1 or 2 weeks down the line. But the problem is I don't think you can get that value growth this week.
Okay, let's get to the end and clean up these running backs. And hey, there's Tevin Coleman.
Yeah.
There's Latavius Murray. There's Jamal Williams, friend of the show. Boston Scott, maybe a 1 week bump, right? If Howard's done, which they don't think he's going to play this week. And then Diego earlier in the chat room, he was like, Trey Sermon lives. Yeah. As a 5%er.
Sure. Being thorough. And basically, the question you want to ask yourself is there a running back who's an injury away from having fantasy relevance? If that's true, then they should be on this list. Tevin Coleman has a chance to have fantasy relevance. I just felt like I had to put him in because he's going to get touches. The same reason I put Wayne Gallman in last week. We saw that turned out. Latavius Murray. Hey, if Devontae Freeman gets hurt, Murray has control of this backfield, and we'll see if this running game can get going. Jamal Williams now the backup for Detroit. It's Detroit, but still he can catch the ball out of the backfield, so there's some value there if Swift goes down. Boston Scott, at least for this week, is going to be the backup on a run-first team. And then we get to Trey Sermon. And see, this is like superstition, kind of like the black and red, right? Because it's
always the black, never the red.
But it's supposed to be the same odds every time. Like Adam Harstad's floating head come in and say, it doesn't matter how many times in a row it was black, it's still the same odds the next time they spin the roulette wheel, right?
Yes.
So this is superstitious. But wouldn't it be fitting if Trey Sermon was a league winner after all? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be fitting that every other 49ers back goes down and Kyle Shanahan has no choice but to use Trey Sermon and then he goes off?
Yes.
It just fits in this season. I'm not saying go pick him up because of that. I'm just riffing because we're talking about roulette.
Because we're having fun, right?
Yeah.
We're having fun. Adam never goes with us to the roulette table though, because I don't need that time when I'm
ruin the
vibing,
fun.
right?
Yeah.
When I'm vibing, I've got my favorite glass right here, right? Let's say it was
Right.
filled with my favorite beverage, and I'm vibing. I don't need C3PO like Adam Harstead, and we love him. SSOG, right? Was that his old member board name? Yeah,
the
SSOG.
crying elephant. Yeah.
Yeah. So we love him, but I'd never tell me the odds. Okay. I'm going to fly through that asteroid field in the Millennium Falcon. Don't ever tell me the odds. When I'm playing roulette, and I'm always the black, never the red. But actually, no. Always the black, never the red. There's rules. Rules for policemen. Rules for Dr. Jene Bramel, who joins us next to talk about the banged up wide receivers in Week 12. Dr. Jene, you are up.
Lots of wide receivers to track. A.J. Brown dealing with a chest injury. Seems to be a rib situation, but where he was pointing was up in kind of that collarbone and sternum joint there. Tennessee hasn't formally announced exactly what they think is going on with Brown. There's some indications that since the ribs were okay, that this might be a shorter-term injury, but prepare for the possibility that Brown may not be able to play this week. Marquise Brown in Baltimore dealing with a thigh situation that some local beat writers were hinting could be a hamstring strain. That could be more of a week-to-week situation going forward. Dallas could be without both of their top wide receivers. Amari Cooper cannot play with a COVID infection. He is an unvaccinated positive case and will not be cleared to play, won't meet the 10-day isolation period in time to play on Thursday. CeeDee Lamb suffered a concussion on Sunday afternoon. The Cowboys were already saying that Lamb was in meetings on Monday. They're going to try to get him progressed through the return to protocol so that he'll be able to go this week. It's been a long time since a player has been cleared to play in a Thursday game after suffering a concussion on Sunday. And that was back in the days where the league maybe wasn't as diligent and careful about returning players. Now we're more likely to see a player miss a week than be back within 4 to 5 days. So the Cowboys are not going to roll him out, but I still think it's doubtful that he's going to be able to play. Still getting conflicting reports on Antonio Brown's ankle injury, dealing with a sprain to the inside part of his foot and ankle. Brown himself seems to be suggesting in his Instagram post that he's going to be back soon. There are some other indications that he may try to return sooner than later, but there's multiple videos that suggest that he's really not that close to returning. So I still have him doubtful for this week. I think we're looking at week 13 at the earliest, but there's enough smoke here that we're going to have to watch his practice participation pretty carefully. The Giants are hoping to get Sterling Shepard back, but he's missed a couple of weeks with a quad strain and has been unable to practice so far. Allen Robinson missed all of practice last week and wasn't close to playing with a hamstring strain. Conflicting reports on Curtis Samuel as well, who was able to get back to practice last Friday. Really wasn't given too much chance to play, but there's again some concern that maybe that Friday practice did not go well last week and we could miss some time there. Jarvis Landry dealing with a knee injury that's been aggravated. That's still kind of a day-to-day situation. I'd give him a good chance to play. Donovan Peoples-Jones, however, aggravated a groin strain last Thursday. Tried to test it again on Friday and was unable to do so. That sounds like a week-to-week situation. Jamal Agnew, hip injury, is going to be placed on injured reserve if he isn't already with a season-ending situation. Alan Lazard, shoulder injury. Marcus Johnson, a hamstring strain. We're going to be watching those players carefully as well. Also be mindful, late in the game, Mike Evans kind of limped off the field after turning his ankle earlier in the game, came back in for a couple plays, had a touchdown catch, and then on a later in the game catch kind of ran across the field and limped off and asked out. So it's not clear what he's dealing with, but you're going to want to watch for an ankle or a leg injury with him that could potentially cost him some time.
Some players just make it fun, Bloom.
Yeah.
And that's why Elijah Moore gets his own section.
Yeah.
Because he just so much fun to watch. And it's one of those where we fanboy on this Bloom. And we were like, before the season, I hope Elijah Moore, and then they do it, and it's glorious to see.
And Elijah Moore probably isn't out there, but enough in those public leagues, the number was low enough that I wanted to make sure to include him. And if we do the post-mortem, post-mortem sounds morbid. It's not really a post-mortem because he's alive and kicking. But if we look at Elijah Moore's trajectory this year, sees hype, preseason, off-season, and then he gets hurt. Oh, man, buzzkill. And then he's barely even used as the Jets are trying to get Zach Wilson going in this offense. Okay, well, it's just not going to happen for Elijah Moore this year. then one after another, Mike White, Josh Johnson, and now Joe Flacco, they can make a thing out of Elijah Moore, which makes you wonder if Zach Wilson gets back in, is it all just going to be for naught? But let us remember that when there is that kind of hype in the preseason, in the offseason, and then we have that failure to launch, that we shouldn't just forget about that there can be that delayed impact like there is. And we'll see if Zach Wilson is going to ruin the party, but it is a party right now if you have Elijah Moore.
Yeah, and didn't you just talk about Trey Sermon? Like, when that hype goes and it doesn't hit, remember why it was there.
Yeah.
And maybe revisit it. Let's go to Rashad Bateman. You're revisiting him, 25 to 50%, in addition to Michael Gallup. Is he going to be the only one on Thanksgiving?
Right.
To catch passes. And let's throw Tyler Boyd here, 15 to 30%, like a phoenix rises from the ashes. Or the crowned phoenix. Bloom, that's a Sue Immortal reference. Like two people will get that. Anyway, let's talk about this group of nice wide receivers.
Yeah, and Kadarius Toney gets in there too after he got 12 targets. Monday Night Football edition, of course, is the Giants. We have hope. Cease. Matt Nagy could be fired. Maybe Jason Garrett could be fired. I don't know. Joe Judge would not commit to Garrett being around. Rashad Bateman, again, that delayed impact, right? Tyler Huntley was out there last week. No Marquise Brown. So we didn't really get to see what Bateman could do with Lamar Jackson without Brown out there. Will we see that this week? I have a feeling Marquise Brown's not going to be ready to go. Marquise Brown does not strike me as the type that's going to beat return to play timelines or otherwise just shrug off these injuries. He seems more like the sports car type of wide receiver. So Rashad Bateman, if he's out there, is a pickup. And then Michael Gallup, and he's going to be the number one receiver. It looks like there's a chance the door's been left open for CD Lamb. Man, I don't want to see someone play 4 days after they got a concussion. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. But the door's been left open. Either way, even if Lamb plays, okay, Gallup's the number 2. It's the Raiders. So Gallup, and he's a good player in a good offense. We'll let everything else sort itself out. Tyler Boyd, the other hokey pokey guy. Here's the thing, though. As Joe Burrow struggled, it was Tyler Boyd making those big third down conversions. So it's almost like the harder it is for the Bengals pass offense, the better it is for Tyler Boyd, the struggle target. I don't know what to forecast. Pittsburgh goes to Cincinnati this week. I think that Boyd is a good enough player and has flourished in this kind of role in the past for Joe Burrow that you got to make sure to pick him up because he could easily go on a tear where he's catching 6 or 7 balls a week in PPR leagues and deserves to be in lineups, and you don't want that to fall into enemy hands.
A little mini section here with MVS, Marquez Valdez Scantling, 10 to 20%. And then Jamison Crowder, getting louder with Crowder, 7 to 15%. For a little taste in your mug club, Bloom.
Yeah, Valdez Scantling, and I don't know how long Alan Lazard's going to be out, and I'm not sure how much of Alan Lazard being out is Valdez Scantling having a better game, and really, if he doesn't have the 75-yard touchdown, what kind of game did he have for fantasy anyway? But he did have the 75-yard touchdown. And see, sometimes you need a little punch, you need a little something in your lineup to get you over the hump. That's Marquez Valdez Scantling, right? He's the perpetual what the heck flex because he can give you that 75-yard touchdown in any given week. And let's remember this. Going back to the Elijah Moore conversation, Marquez Valdez Scantling was the subject of a lot of preseason hype. You remember how many reports there were that he's turned the corner? Yes. He looks like a different receiver. He's more consistent now. How long has it been since we've really had a chance to see this get lined up? Now, there's also this Aaron Rodgers issue with his foot problem, his toe problem that he says is worse than turf toe, and he's just trying to make it to the bye. But it's easy to picture a scenario to speak against the Rams, right? If Jalen Ramsey is following Devontae Adams around, that could be a Marquez Valdez Scantling game. Jamison Crowder, I think with Joe Flacco, was good in 2 out of the 4 games that Flacco started last year. He was good last week, got that easy touchdown, looked like a rub route at the goal line. Again, we're waiting to see if Flacco is going to continue to start. If he does, that's good for Crowder, who can gobble up those short catches in a pass-first offense, especially with Michael Carter likely out, and going up against the Houston Texans this week.
That's a nice little combination. Mm-hmm. Very nice every day. Next up is the final group of wide receivers. Marquise Goodwin, 3 to 5%. Cedric Wilson, 3 to 5%. Des Fitzpatrick, Chester Rogers, and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, all 1%ers. And some may say, well, Westbrook-Ikhine, maybe
Yeah,
bump him up.
he was 7 for 101 last week. It's possible. I'm just throwing my hands in the air, shrugging my shoulders about the Tennessee wide receivers. Goodwin, you had that 4th and 11 catch. Could have been one of the plays of the year, Cease. Tyler Huntley had different ideas. So against Detroit, could it happen again? I don't think we're going to see Allen Robinson. Again, you have Goodwin with that deep ball speed. Cedric Wilson will be the number 2 or number 3 receiver on Thanksgiving. He's good. I think we may eventually get a chance to see him start somewhere. Probably not in Dallas, but in our fantasy lineups maybe, in deeper leagues. And you have the 3 Tennessee amigos here. Des Fitzpatrick, 4th rounder, got cut at the beginning of the season. 4th round pick, didn't even make it out of camp, but eventually makes it on the field for the team anyway and catches a touchdown. You also have Westbrook Akina. As you said, he's 7 for 101 last week. He's maybe should be the top pickup out of this group. And also we're waiting to see if A.J. Brown's going to play against New England. But even if A.J. Brown does play against New England, isn't it going to be like A.J. Brown's not playing, right? I mean, Belichick is not going to let A.J. Brown get free, right? I mean, it's just not going to happen. So whether Brown plays or not, these secondary options for the Titans in a 1-week rental kind of situation could have some value, including Chester Rogers, who just has to get out of the way of that punt.
Forget renting. You want to buy Dr. Jene Bramel and everything that he says. So injured tight ends is what we're going to talk about next. Dr. Jene, you are up.
The big news of the week at the tight end spot is what Washington is going to be able to do with their tight ends. Logan Thomas a couple of weeks ago was sore earlier in the week and was not designated to return, and then really did not do much last week at all. It does look like Washington expects him to try to give it a go and practice again early this week. They're hopeful that that goes a little bit better and he can be designated to return and then move to the active roster in time to play this week. Ricky Seals-Jones, dealing with a hip injury. It'd been a week-to-week situation, tried to come back and play 2 weeks ago, left early, and then did not practice or play last week. That could still be a week-to-week situation. New Orleans, Adam Troutman has a fairly significant MCL sprain. The early timetable for him is 4 to 6 weeks. You'd expect him to go on injured reserve at this point. It's going to be late to get him back. Week 15 would be the earliest target there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Jene Bramel. He's always so polite, Bloom.
Yeah.
Always so cordial. Of course, what do you expect? He is the man. Austin Hooper, the man, I guess. 10 to 20% to start him off. And let's just do all the tight ends because there's only a few. This year has been so topsy-turvy. We're like, it's a zillion tight ends, and now it's like 3. Austin Hooper, Gerald Everett, and Adam Troutman.
Yeah, and then we can ask Adam Troutman. Actually, at the time that I wrote, this has been updated since then, the news on Troutman and the MCL, so not worth carrying through that injury. So the pickings are pretty slim, and Austin Hooper.
Juwan Johnson, 0.5%.
Yeah, if Trevor Siemian was going to be the quarterback for the rest of the year, which he shouldn't be, Juwan Johnson with Trevor Siemian's one thing. Juwan Johnson with Taysom Hill, I don't know. Maybe they'll sign Clayton Thorson. They had him in for a workout season. Northwestern, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, you have Austin Hooper. And Hooper had 7 targets last week. Jarvis Landry aggravated his knee injury. Donovan People-Jones banged up. Anthony Schwartz used the Schwartz banged up. You have Rashard Higgins. Why isn't Rashard Higgins in the waiver wire report? Maybe he should be. But I think actually you're more likely going to see Austin Hooper and maybe David Njoku. Maybe I should have added David Njoku now because somebody's got to catch the ball, but really more likely sees that Baker Mayfield's going to go like 12 for 28, and there's going to be nothing in this passing game. How many times can Nick Chubb carry the ball? And maybe we'll see Kareem Hunt get back, and maybe Kareem Hunt is the number 1 receiver for this team. You have Gerald Everett. It's kind of sad, right? When everything is sputtering in this Seahawks offense, Gerald Everett's actually putting up some decent numbers.
And now it works. It should have worked from the beginning.
Right. Well, this also could be something where Shane Waldron is being shut out of this offense. And, of course, Everett was a player that he basically brought over with him. I have no idea. But at tight end, there's plenty of you out there. If you don't have a Kelsey or a Kittle or a Waller, a Pitts, a Hawkinson, those guys that you're going to play, Goddard, probably Noah Fant. There's at least a few of you in every league that, who can I pick up this week to try? I mean, I guess now that I think about it, there's Knox, there's Schultz, there's others. Gerald Everett fits in there. And Adam Troutman was coming on, but alas, MCL sprain. So we won't have him. We'll be shutting them down, Cease.
Yeah, that's right. Leading perfectly into our next segment, which, damn it. Okay. I promised everyone, and I've actually thought about it a few times during the week, Bloom, because I look up at that beautiful mountain every single day in my backyard, and I said, I told everybody I was going to climb up there and then do choose a journey. And I was like, maybe I should wait till it's going to snow. It's going to snow on Wednesday. And I was like, okay. And I mean, like probably 3 times over the last week, I was like, sound like the old beginning of Play That Country Music Alabama album. Like, one of these days I'm going to climb that mountain. Yeah, one of these days I'm going to get up there. But I will do it because I wanted that video clip where I'm at the top of the world and I get to scream that. And then my neighbors, if they're listening, get to be like, it's that crazy Lammey guy again. So there we go. But I will, I promise. Now I feel disappointed. Oh, man. The week gets away from you. Anyway, we'll do it. But first, we need to do it right now with you, because in football and in life, sometimes you just got to scream it out. Sometimes you just got to let it go. And sometimes, everyone get ready to say it with me, you've got to say, cue the Chuck D! Blue. Week 12, shut them downs.
Yeah. Sad times. Shutting down. I mean, Ryan Tannehill in a typical 1-quarterback league. I'm not sure what's there for us. Derek Carr in a 1-quarterback league. So I think that these quarterbacks in 1-quarterback leagues are not ones you want to rely on. It can always change. They can get back into the waiver wire hokey pokey. Now we have some drop if, right? So Kenyon Drake, who is the backup, high injury upside if Josh Jacobs goes down, but I would drop him for Devontae Freeman or Rhamondre Stevenson. Darrell Williams on bye. Dante Foreman, Adrian Peterson are lottery tickets with the Titans. I would drop them for that mid-tier of backup running backs like Khalil Herbert, Sony Michel, Chuba Hubbard, or even take a chance on a DJ Dallas or a Dontrell Hilliard. So, see, one of the propositions that were tough was tough for me to navigate was, which Titans running back would you want to hold right now? Would you want to hold Foreman? Would you want to hold Peterson? Would you want to hold Hilliard? Well, why wouldn't it be Hilliard? He was the one who performed the best and got the most opportunity last week, and they were happy with him. So I think that these guys are drops. But, I'm not dropping Peterson or Dante Foreman for Boston Scott. And Zach Moss, his snap count's going down. Yes, he can get touchdown opportunities. And Devin Singletary's not on that list because, he was probably already shut down a while ago. At wide receiver, Jarvis Landry, it's just too many injuries. Bryan Edwards. And look, I would hold Bryan Edwards over like a Tennessee receiver, but I'm dropping Bryan Edwards for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It's same guy, but he actually had a 75-yard touchdown last week, right? Cole Beasley, who's getting healthier, but I'm kind of getting tired of waiting around. So I looked at him and Tyler Boyd. I would rather have Tyler Boyd right now. If I had to drop Beasley to get Boyd, yeah, I'd probably do that. Otherwise, at tight end, Cole Kmet. And I suppose there was a question, Cecil, are there any ding-dong the witch is dead, assuming Matt Nagy is fired? Are there those kind of pickups for the Bears? Maybe it's Kmet. I don't know. At least you get a chance to watch on Thanksgiving if you pick up Kmet and put him in your lineup. But maybe that's a reason to not pick him up, Cecil.
Maybe that's a reason to, just play with your heart sometimes and just go, I'm going to let my heart lead the way, right? It's like a connection. There is that magnetism when you get around someone that makes your heart sing and you feel better. Sometimes that's a player. Sometimes that's a player that's not doing so very good. And sometimes you just have to hold on. And in week 12, Bloom, who are some of those hold on?
Hold on for one more day to Justin Fields, right? There's your ding-dong, the witch is dead. Hold. What could he do if Matt Nagy shown the door? T. Higgins, I'm not ready to give up on him yet. Too much talent there, too much ability if the Bengals passing game can get going. Manuel Sanders, don't overreact to a couple of bad weeks in a row. He's got 2 touchdown upside in any given week. And against New Orleans, if Stephon Diggs gets Marshawn Lattimore, it could be a big Thanksgiving night for Emmanuel Sanders. When you're waking up out of your tryptophan nap, maybe you'll see Emmanuel Sanders scoring a touchdown in the Superdome. Did you hear the XFL? The USFL's back. Did you hear this, Cecil? I know you just woke up. The USFL is officially back. 8 teams, one of them the New Orleans Breakers. Do you think they're going to hire beat writers?
Okay, maybe. I mean, is it going to be as good as the St. Louis Battlehawks?
Yeah, right. What's interesting is, wasn't it the Denver Gold? Wasn't that the USFL team?
Yep. Mouse Davis, run and shoot.
And but no Denver Gold. They did not revive. They revived the Pittsburgh Maulers, Mike Rozier. Remember that?
Yeah.
We almost got season tickets to the Maulers when I was a kid. I remember the New Jersey Generals. I'm not going to be able to remember all of them though. The Tampa Bay Bandits, Birmingham. There's a steel town. Birmingham gets a team. The Stallions. There's some others, but I'm just excited. Spring football back in New Orleans. And
if you live in Birmingham, how many like minor league football gear? How much minor league football gear do you have? Because every time it's like Birmingham, and they'll support them, and then they'll go away. So it's like I got all my Birmingham Knights or whatever.
Hey, they have you'll like this, Cease, in Birmingham, because we passed through Birmingham when we were on evacuation from Ida, and they have a giant Vulcan statue. I think it's the largest cast iron statue in the world. It's the Vulcan at the top of the hill overlooking Birmingham. Isn't that cool?
Wow. That is interesting.
You can, I think, go up into it also. Like take an elevator up. Yeah. Go see the Vulcan.
Go see the Vulcan. Go see us by hitting that like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And my God, the retention rate behind the scenes, Bloom. I was looking at our retention rate. Like our subscribers watch the show. We appreciate you guys for doing that. Thank you very much. Help us get in front of a new audience. Help us grow the channel. The best way to do that is like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. I hear, and our pot stoner degenerate Jason isn't here to say Sigmund's representing the brand, but I hear that our merch store is going to launch on Friday.
Ooh.
Yeah, so a little Black Friday, Black Joe, hey, if you want to support the show, supportfootballguys.com. It's the best way to support the show. We appreciate everyone out there for doing that. Really good price, annual subscription, and that's how you do it. I love the show. Football Guys, click. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. We will have a Thanksgiving preview, Bloom. For everyone, we're just going to do the Thanksgiving games. That'll be tomorrow morning. So a special little Neville, who's the song? What's the song we always use for be thankful for what you got?
William Devon.
Devon. Yes.
Back, sun down. Scene with the gangs.
Yeah. That's what we're going to do. So we'll have that. And then Friday. Yeah. We will then do the rest of the week. So a little day off for Thanksgiving. I'll be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. It is youtube.com/footballguys. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. The show is at the Audible, and I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thanks much. Stay tuned. And as always, stay frosty.